Okay, graphs of equations. Really all that graphs are pictures of the solutions to that particular equation. Two key points usually on graphs of equations are going to be our x and y intercepts. And x-intercept simply means where we are going to be crossing the x-axis. So if I scroll up here, I've got a line drawn, and this point right here where I'm crossing that horizontal x-axis would be labeled the x-intercept. And in order to be along this x-axis, that means my y is going to have a value of 0. On the other hand, my y-intercept is where I'm crossing the vertical or y-axis. So this green point here is going to be my y-intercept. And in order for any point to be along this y-axis, the x-coordinate is going to have to be a 0. So that's going to be really key to remember. If you're asked to find the x and y-intercepts, that means for the x-intercept, you let the y be 0 and figure out what x is. For the y-intercept, you let x be 0 and figure out what the y is. All right, let's take a look at graphing using this technique. We have this equation in standard form, 2x plus 3y equals 18, and we want to graph using the intercepts. So for the x-intercept, we're going to let the y be 0 and plug that in. We're going to solve, and we come up with x equals 9. We're graphing in the xy plane, which means I need an ordered pair. My x-coordinate is 9, and the y that we plugged in was 0, so my ordered pair is 9, 0. We come out here along the x-axis, go out to 9, and stop. That's our first point. The y-intercept is going to be found similarly, except this time we're going to let the x be 0 and plug it into that original equation. When we work it out, we get y equals 6. So now my ordered pair is always x and then y, so 0 and then 6. Going back to our graph up here, that means we're going to go up from the origin 6 on the y-axis, and that's our y-intercept. If we join these 2 points, we do get a line. Now, I have an important note here that says, hang on just a second, if I'm going to graph on the calculator, I would need to solve for y first, because you have to have it in that form in your calculator. Let's take a look at something like that. If I have y equals x squared minus 10x plus 21, it's already solved for y for me, so I don't have to do any extra work. And this one, notice, is an x squared equation. So when we graph it, it's going to be a different shape than a line. In this case, we call it a parabola. Now, a lot of times textbooks will ask us or give us certain instructions about what kind of window to use. In this case, if it's 4 things listed like this, that's going to stand for the x minimum value, the x maximum value, the y minimum value, and then the y maximum value. And this scale stuff is just telling you how much each tick mark represents. So let me grab my calculator here, and I'm using the TI-83, and 84 would be similar. I'm going to go to turn it on, and then I'm going to go to the y equals screen, and we're going to type in this equation. So I've got x, and I'm just going to use the square key for the square, minus 10x and plus 21. Okay, now I'm going to go to the window button next door, and it's already got, by default, the standard window in there. We call that the standard window. If yours doesn't have those numbers in there, you don't have to type them in one by one. Instead, you could quickly go from whatever those settings are, go to zoom, and then down to number 6. It says zoom to the standard window. If you hit enter there, it automatically takes you to that negative 1010 window. And there's the picture that I've got on the screen. But sometimes that's not the best representation, because in this case we see x-intercepts, we see where it's crossing, but we are missing up here the y-intercept. So here's a suggested alternative window. Let's put that one in and see what happens. So the negative button, remember, use the negative, the little one at the bottom, -3, okay, and then 12, it says for my maximum. Now be careful, this is x scale, and we're going to leave at 1. And then the y minimum, leave at -10, but the maximum, let's go up to 30. And since we've increased the y values, it also says to increase the scale to 5. So let's take a look at that. Just hit the graph button, and there we get this nicer picture. We still see the parabola, but now we can see that it is crossing the y-axis way up here at, let's see, 5, 10, 15, just around 20. In fact, we know, because we've talked about how to find the y-intercept, if we were to let these x's be 0, we would get y equals 21.